All right, and for more on this, we're now joined by education activist Hendrick Makaneta, and he joins us now via our video line. Hendrick, thank you so much for your time this evening here in SABC News. Now, of course, we are expecting the results of the Matric class of 2024 to be released tomorrow. And as much as some are saying, well, don't compare this class of matriculants to the previous years, I must point out to you and ask you, when it comes to the results for the 2024 class, what are your expectations?
Well, Mbali, the expectation is that those provinces which have got the necessary resources, provinces such as the Western Cape and Gauteng, will always find themselves in the front, leading, compared to provinces such as, Eastern Cape, as well as Limpopo, because those are rural provinces which often experience a shortage in allocation of resources. You will recall that even during the difficult period of COVID-19, the majority of students or learners in Gauteng and Western Cape were able to carry on with learning and teaching despite those difficult challenges, because the majority of them had access to gadgets, things such as Wi-Fi. Most of the schools, as compared to rural schools, the resources were there. And so it is expected that Gauteng and Western Cape will, no matter how they perform, they will always be in the front.
And as you note, some of these challenges which were facing other provinces, and of course looking at some of these issues really facing the likes of the Eastern Cape and some parts of KwaZulu-Natal who are dealing with adverse weather conditions. Do you have some concerns there when it comes to how well they would perform for the class of 2024?
And Bali, there is no doubt that KZN has been through the most difficult time during the previous years. You'll recall in 2021 as well, there were, the July unrest, which affected not only the business community, but also schools. There are many schools which were vandalized, some of which are affected, quality learning and teaching. And this class of Matric that set last year in 2024 were obviously affected by all of those. The weather patterns, as you have said, leaving some of the families, in distress. But I think that despite all of these challenges, there is no doubt that the Provincial Education Department in KZN was able to put measures in place to make sure that our learners are able to thoroughly prepare themselves and create a future for themselves. And I would not be surprised if we can see, an increase in the percentage, particularly in KZN, as well as Free State this year. And again, if I think Professor Mary Metcalf summed it up correctly to say, we should not see this Matric result as the overall reflection of how the system is performing. Remember that we also have learners who are unaccounted for, learners who fell by the wayside along the way in this difficult journey of 12 years, ever since they started in grade 1. And not all of them were able to sit for these final exams. And for us, that is also a cause for concern.
And Hendrick, the likes of the Eastern Cape are also facing various challenges. And one quite important aspect of the challenges is the issue around transportation of learners in the Eastern Cape. Also quite unique to the Eastern Cape was the issue around extortion, where some schools and teachers were affected in terms of, these extortionists, which we saw throughout, the Eastern Cape last year. When it comes to things like transport, how important of a role does it play in the education sector to ensure that, learners do get to school on time and they actually do arrive at school?
Bali, scholar transport is very important in the education sector because it enables our learners to arrive at school on time so that they can be there during the first period when teachers have to start teaching. And unfortunately, the Eastern Cape has had its own fair share of problems, issues that cut across the Department of Basic Education along with transport. There are learners that have been crossing rivers, learners who had to cross a river in the Eastern Cape just to get into a school. And during rainy days, some of these learners were not able to, to go into the schools due to lack of facilities. Sometimes even the bridges that they were using were not up to standard, just to cross that particular river. So we think that now that it appears that the Eastern Cape Provincial government is determined, to resolve this issue of scholar transport. And we can safely say that, this will certainly go a long way to assist our learners to be able to arrive at school on time. Because some learners were not able to even go, for a period of 2 to 3 days. And I think that, going forward, we want to see government moving with the necessary speed to ensure that no learner, is left behind when it comes to scholar transport. Every learner is able to get, transport which can take them into a school.
And Mr. Makaneta, last year we saw, the elections take place, and then that resulted in a government of national unity and a change in the ministers of education. And we moved from Angie Motshekga to now Sivwe Gwagube. These matric results, what will it say about the new minister as well as the government of national unity?
Well, there is no doubt. There is no doubt that the new minister has taken over during some of the most difficult times. And we really want to say that the results will not necessarily reflect, it will not be a reflection of what the minister has done. But it will obviously reflect what was done by the previous minister, Hendrick Makaneta, because she has been there, remember, even during the better part of, or the start of the term, even term 2, she was there. And of course, when Minister Gwagube came, I think that, learners were approaching the finishing line, because remember, matric learners, by the end of June, they are done with their syllabus. So when they come back for term 3, they only do a revision. So I think Minister Gwagube came in at the time when they were done already. So we can attribute the success of the 2024 cohort to the work that was done by Minister Matric.
All right, Hendrick, thank you so much for your time and for that insight. Of course, as we await the final verdict and see those matric results being released tomorrow, that is education activist Hendrick Makaneta giving us his insight there when it comes to some of the challenges that were faced by the class of 2024.